18 naked cowboys in the showers at Ram Ranch. Big heart throbbing wanting to be sucked. 18 naked cowboys wanted to be
I personally love this song.
in the showers at Ram Ranch on their knees wanting to suck cowboy. Ram Ranch really rocks.
It really does rock. It really does.
Have you been to Ram Ranch?
I believe I have been to Ram Ranch. Not exactly on purpose, but...
I first learned about Ram Ranch a few months ago on a night like this one. I was getting a ride home from, let's call him a friend of a friend. He'd rather remain anonymous. We were all stuck in traffic and entertaining ourselves by playing the worst songs any of us could think of. And he brought out Ram Ranch. This bizarre piece of spoken word cowboy erotica set to a heavy metal soundtrack, written and performed by a shadowy online creator who had spent the past decade making hundreds and hundreds of sequels to the song.
Well, I was living in a house full of dudes, and one night we were just kind of screwing around, and one of my roommates, he was like, hey, you guys should hear this. And he started playing this. You know, we all just kind of thought it was funny. And it kind of just became a bit of an inside joke. Every one of us at random points, we would just, you know, hook our phones up to a speaker and just play it at full blast. One of my roommates decided, why don't I try to get a hold of this guy, see if he'll do a song and, like, you know, mention our names in our university. So he messaged the guy that writes these songs, and within hours, not even days, like within hours, he had a song posted with our names in it.
Yo, what do we see at University? It's Ontario, Canada. Yo, French jocks, huge, top Polish rocks. French boys on the floor.
Is he saying French boys?
Pledge Boys.
Pledge boys, okay. I kept hearing French boys.
No, it's Pledge Boys.
Okay.
He uses Pledge Boys a lot. We had this big speaker set up in the living room. We put this on full blast when it came out, and all of us were rolling on the floor laughing. We were just in awe. We were in shock that, like, we're like, oh my God, he actually did it. Like, that was so easy. If you went to the YouTube channel, every song was Ram Ranch and then numbered. And at that point, I think he was at like 200 and something, maybe.
How much did you know about Ram Ranch?
Absolutely nothing.
Like about Grant, like did you know the name Grant McDonald?
Nope. Again, my roommate said that he had gotten in contact with the guy, and I believe that he told us the name. He was like, yeah, it's this guy, Grant McDonald. He said, we think that that's his name, but we're not 100% sure. We just kind of figured it was a joke between us. We didn't realize that it was as big as it was. Based on the art, it didn't really occur to me that other people would be quite as interested or intrigued by it as we were. It turns out, like, I guess a lot of dudes are simple. Like, I had mentioned this to my brother, and he was like, oh, you know Ram Ranch? And I was like, fuck yeah, I know Ram Ranch. But
and this is all straight dudes.
All straight dudes.
All straight dudes who love Ram Ranch.
All straight dudes. We didn't live in a frat house per se, but we were all university-age dudes who loved to go out and drink and party. And we found humor in the simplest things. And this was just so outrageous that it was like, whoa, this is funny.
Did you think the figure behind it, he would be sincere or he would be joking on purpose? Like, who did you picture being behind this?
I think every one of us thought it was just a joke.
I immediately went home and Googled Ram Ranch, Grant McDonald, only to find out that McDonald had not been heard from since January of 2024, when he messaged his Discord server in a panic about his imminent arrest, and then went silent, and had been for months, which represented the largest hiatus by far ever experienced by the Ram Ranch community. Prior to this, McDonald had never gone longer than a week without releasing new installments of Ram Ranch. Rumors began to circulate that he actually was in prison, or that he had been legally restricted from using the internet somehow, or that he was dead. Nobody knew the truth, but they knew that something very dramatic must have happened to him to stop him from creating Ram Ranch songs. So who is this guy? And why Ram Ranch? Well, my research quickly confirmed that Grant McDonald is in fact an elderly retired investment banker from Toronto, Canada. He's got a lot of money, a nice condo downtown, decked out wall to wall with Ram Ranch merch, and seemingly the main use of his time is indeed making Ram Ranch songs, but also apparently spamming gay porn to his Ram Ranch Discord server full of teenage 4chan Nazis. He had a weird, but seemingly consensual relationship with his adult nephew, which ended in a revenge porn lawsuit, which is probably why he's in jail right now. Oh my god, what is going on? I thought this was gonna be a haha funny cowboy erotica. What? What in the world is going on? We need to backtrack a lot. Attempting to go down a Ram Ranch rabbit hole very quickly presents you with a giant dumpster fire of weird, unverifiable, insane claims, and untangling it all is honestly is probably impossible, but I have done my darndest. So I now need to take you all the way back to the beginning because I have still not answered my initial question of who is Grant McDonald and why did he do Ram Ranch? But first, a word from this video's sponsor, Helix Sleep. Helix makes premium mattresses and bedding customized to your unique needs and shipped straight to your door. Everyone's different, everyone sleeps differently, which is why Helix has their sleep quiz to match you with your perfect mattress based on your body type and sleep preferences. If you sleep with a partner, you can take the sleep quiz together and find something that is the perfect compromise for both of you. Based on my results, Helix matched me with their Twilight Luxe mattress, which is this beautiful mattress right here. It is their firmest mattress. I generally do prefer a firmer mattress because I have scoliosis demons that infest my spine, and it is very easy for me to mess up my day if I don't sleep on a good surface. I've had it for over 2 years now and I still love it. It's definitely way better for my back than my previous mattress was. Myself, my partner, our two beautiful binguses have been sleeping great. I had to kick them out to take the bedding off to film this and it was very sad. The Helix lineup offers 20 unique mattresses, including their award-winning Luxe and ultra-premium Elite series, the Helix Plus, a mattress designed for big and tall sleepers, as well as Helix Kids mattresses. You can personalize your mattress even more by adding the Glaciotex cooling cover, which helps keep you cool and comfortable while you sleep. And if it makes you nervous to buy a mattress online that you haven't tried in person, don't worry, because Helix offers a 100-night sleep trial. You can sleep on this baby for 100 nights before you decide if you really love it. There's also a 10-year warranty, financing options, flexible payment plans. It comes rolled up in a box and then expands once you free it from that box, so it's super easy to set up yourself. Just make sure you read the instructions before you try it. I filmed the unboxing wrong once over 2 years ago, and now I have to use this B-roll every time! But it's okay, okay. She survived her traumatic birth, and everything's been amazing since then. I love my Helix mattress, so if you're in the market for a new bed, highly recommend checking them out. You can use my magical link in the description down below, helix.com/strangeeons. Go check them out and you'll get 20% off your mattress. And now, I return you to Ram Ranch. The most famous Grant McDonald song is, of course, entitled Ram Ranch. 18 naked cowboys in the showers at Ram Ranch, etc. But to view this one song as his magnum opus or as some kind of a focal point to his work, I think is a mistake. Grant has been making music since the year 2000, and the cowboy theme has been very present since at least around 2010, but probably before that. Songs like Lonesome Boy in Tennessee, Bucking Cowboy, Sucking Cowboy, Bronco Busting Cowboy, Hey Cowboy, Cowboy Butt. And they aren't all as explicit as you might think if Ram Ranch is your introduction to his music. Originally, his intention was not to be raunchy and shocking, but to be honest and raw about all aspects of cowboy love.
Hold me in your arms ever so tight, our love shines bright under the moonlight. Let me feel your might, our love is totally right.
You know, my mother, I played Bucking Cowboy to her once, and she cringed and she thought it was F-U-C-K. And I said, no, Mom, that's Bucking Cowboy. I wrote it. I know it's a B. And then, you know, she kind of cringed, and I said, listen, Johnny Cash once did a song called I Just Shot a Man to Watch Him Die. So don't you tell me about love and my music when violence is just so over the top out there, and I should feel guilty about love.
Grant's work doesn't really conform to any genre. Although cowboys are a very frequent theme, only some of them are country, some of them are metal, some of them are rock, some of them are like EDM almost. Some of them are slow and romantic even. Grant is a pretty cultured guy. He cites various musical influences across all genres, mainly Tool, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, and Eminem. And he specifically talks about rap as the genre that like inspired and empowered him to be able to make music, because it isn't exactly singing what he does in a lot of his songs. It's more of like a spoken word poetry to music, similar to how rap is. Another staple of his music is the porn sounds throughout the songs.
What I do, I structure my songs as if I'm scoring a movie, and some of them change based upon, whether Sean is moaning and groaning, whether Sean is oinking and oinking, and whether Sean is begging and begging, or what it's about, like, it depends on the premise. It depends on the premise of the song, like whether it's a Pink Floyd song, or Zeppelin, or Tool, or Metallica, or whatever, like visualization. Depends on the visualization of the scene,
I kind of feel like with your songs, it depends what like the song's about and what's going on, and that kind of like sets a tone for what filters and what microphone volume. Pretty much all the production stuff is just based
absolutely
on
absolutely
song,
and like sometimes like it's almost like you go back to certain errors, like, and that scratchiness on the record, like you remember things like that.
The instrumentals themselves are just copyright-free instrumentals that he finds online. He avoids this question in interviews constantly, but no, he is not playing all of the different instruments in the songs himself. He finds the instrumentals online. Sometimes they are heavily edited to create a unique effect. Sometimes there's basically no editing and it's just his voice over pre-existing music. It's absolutely still a valid art form, it just maybe explains why his output of material is so high.
Why is some of your songs so fucking ridiculously long? I'm talking around the 10 to 20 minute mark. Like, why is that?
Yeah, no. Hey, Sean's Boyhood Dream is like fucking, so like 23 fucking minutes because it's fun. Because it's fun, like, and it blows my mind that you're able to, Pink Floyd's fucking Uma Duma and Adam Hart, Mother, and Metal. Look at fucking Pink Floyd's Metal. They did a whole fucking album on it.
For branding, album covers, and such, he uses what seem to be like stock photos or modeling photos with a sexy cowboy theme. It's unclear exactly how he sources them, and most of the men in them are just like unknown models, but one of them is Dean Supernatural, which is just so delightful to me. So, I'm pretty confident in saying that this is not Grant's own photography. The unique thing that is Ram Ranch is scraped together from a lot of other stuff that he finds online and just puts his spin on. And also, cowboys are not the only type of boy in the Ram Ranch universe. Grant has stated that cowboys specifically to him represent something kind of romantic and poetic. Biker boys also feature a lot in his songs. The bikers are more edgy and dangerous. Another group that he's into is the frat boys. The frat boys are just like crazy and uncontrollable and purely sexual without any hint of romance. Now, at this point, you might be thinking to yourself, is Ram Ranch like a mythological universe completely devoid of women? Has a woman ever been mentioned in a Grant McDonald song? And the answer is yes.
I say something like, Tyler's in the frat, sucking and feeding all his frat buddies loads and loads of cum. And his girlfriend, Natalie, loves her girlfriend, Annie, but the evil Catholic Church will not let her express her love. That's my lyrics, okay? My cowboy friends up at Discord and all over says, hey, well, what about, like the lesbians? Hey, and I just say, hey, well, let's just deal with the cowboys and cowboys for now. Hey, let the lesbians put together their own ranch.
So Grant truly could not be less interested in women's sexuality, like, at all. It's also worth mentioning that Grant is not only a musician, but a filmmaker as well. Around 5-ish years ago, he was still making pretty frequent reference to his films, which he sold on DVD on Amazon, especially the 6-disc adaptation of Ram Ranch. However, all of the listings for those films seem to either have been taken down or are currently unavailable. Grant claims to have once had hundreds of DVDs for sale on Amazon, similar to how he has hundreds of Ram Ranch songs. My question is, of course, like, are these porn? Are these actually porn? Based on the reviews of the few Amazon listings that are still up, yes! Yes, they are! And he's apparently added these, like, musical interludes to them, which seems to really catch people off guard who are ordering this thinking it's normal porn. Oh no, you're getting the Grant McDonald special. Given Grant's usual formula of, like, creating a pastiche of pre-existing things he finds that compel him. I wouldn't be surprised if these were just scenes from other porns that he edited together. So Grant McDonald spent many years producing just ungodly amounts of erotic, often cowboy-themed content for seemingly no other audience but himself. He just was having fun doing this.
I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it for fun, satisfaction, and the wonderment of putting a song out there that blows my mind.
And this included the song Ram Ranch, which existed in relative obscurity for the first couple of years that it was out there on the internet. That song, of course, introduces the mythical setting of Ram Ranch. It's not really grounded in any country or culture, though Ram Ranch 6 does leave room for the interpretation that it is located in Jasper, Alberta. There are 36 total gay cowboys who live at Ram Ranch, and seem to do nothing but have gay cowboy orgies all day. Ram Ranch was adopted at first by a small group of Twitch streamers, but from there, quickly ended up becoming a much bigger meme, specifically in these like streaming and gaming spaces dominated by young men. And the whole joke that they found so funny was simply to shock people by playing Ram Ranch. To play it without context on streams, or even to play pranks by blasting it in public spaces.
But this guy, Christopher Cantwell, he's the guy after Charlottesville that was known as a crying Nazi because he cried on camera about being arrested. I got access to his website. Everything that goes up on his website is automatically sent out to thousands of people on his email list, and I put Ram Ranch on there.
Oh,
Cowboy
great.
Cop.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
And it sent it out to thousands of people, and he called, you know what he did? He got so mad that I did this, that he called the FBI on me for posting Ram Ranch on his site.
What
He
a
called the
nasty
FBI on me.
character. Oh,
The way it was used was almost adjacent to like a Rickroll, except instead of creating this moment of annoyance, it was more to like shock people, make people laugh with how crazy and outrageous these lyrics were. And for whatever reason, this stuff is like this stuff, Grant McDonald songs, the stuff. It's like crack cocaine to straight men with a childish sense of humor. Do you have a straight man in your life under the age of 25? Ask him about Ram Ranch now. Around 2017, 2018, the Ram Ranch meme was at its biggest. And that's when Grant McDonald caught on to it. And he loved it. He absolutely lived for the fact that people were describing themselves as his fans, that they enjoyed his work.
Anyway, Grant, I wanted to ask you a question, and it's a bit of a personal one too. Your music has helped me through rough days, man. Like sometimes I come home from school and I feel like absolute shit, but then I listen to like fucking like 99 or like 97 or like 34 or 42, and it just makes me feel so happy, and you fucking cheer me up. What's your thoughts about your music making people feel better, making their day?
that's exactly what I'm trying to do, and I'm so honored. Thank you that, you know, like you're having fun with this.
So 2018 was when Grant started releasing the numbered Ram Ranch sequels. Prior to this, all of his songs had different titles. They weren't Ram Ranch 2, Ram Ranch 4, Ram Ranch 75, Ram Ranch 620. The songs all had common themes, some common characters, but they didn't all necessarily feature the setting of Ram Ranch and the Ram Ranch Cowboys, and they weren't necessarily all as sexually explicit as Ram Ranch. But Grant loved his fans, and if the fans wanted Ram Ranch, he was gonna give them Ram Ranch. He leaned into everything that they loved about it. The shock value, the comedy, the absolutely constant cowboy sex. So if Ram Ranch is this huge expansive world now, what is the lore of Ram Ranch, you may be asking? We never get an entirely clear picture of like who all of the Ram Ranch Cowboys are. Even the total number, there being 36 of them, is eventually contested by the canon. He drops a lot of seemingly random male names on us. Sean, Luke, Andella, Jonathan, Ethan, Sam. Okay, who are these men? The formula for a Ram Ranch numbered song is generally this. The cowboys of Ram Ranch travel to all kinds of different cities and have sex with all kinds of different men. French boys in Montreal, oil rig workers in Fort McMurray, the KGB in Russia. In Ram Ranch 4, they have a rodeo. In Ram Ranch 6, Prince Harry joins the cowboys. It takes place in Jasper, Alberta, although as I said, there's some room for interpretation here. We don't know if Ram Ranch is located in Jasper, Alberta, or if Prince Harry and the Cowboys simply decided that this was a reasonable rendezvous point. Sometimes Prince Harry gets kidnapped and the Cowboys have to rescue him. Ram Ranch 7 is a fan favorite, second only to the original. And, you know, I see why. It's pretty good.
Okay, so it's the middle of the night and I'm trying to finish this video. And my girlfriend is asleep and Casper is barring on me. Casper, say hi. That's my son. Okay, so the YouTube algorithm really doesn't like the sex noises in Ram Ranch 7. So here's my rendition. 28 U.S. Marines pulling up in black Ford Raptor trucks. Helicopters landing. Ram Ranch is under siege. Under lockdown. U.S. Marines are gonna fuck Ram Ranch cowboy butts. Looking for Prince Harry. Gonna fuck Prince Harry's butt. Yeah, wild buff, cool U.S. Marines.
Ram Ranch 7 is fucking awesome. How did you get the idea of 28 U.S. Marines?
Yeah. Fucking Ford Raptor trucks, helicopters.
Landing. Ram Ranch is under siege.
Ram Ranch is under lockdown.
So fucking awesome. How did you come up with this shit?
Now we're on Ram Ranch 771, and they're in space. I mean, they've been in space since 85. It's not even big news anymore. And there's like multiple spaceships, and I'm not totally clear on the dynamics between them, but they keep like invading the other ships to have sex with each other. Like I was saying, the numbered Ram Ranch songs, that's a trend that started when Ram Ranch became popular around 2018. But I want to clarify that when I refer to the Ram Ranch universe, I am not just referring to the numbered songs. Grant McDonald's entire body of work is so just thematically cohesive, it features so many recurring ideas that I don't think you can separate Ram Ranch from it in any meaningful way. That being said, if you're thinking of listening to Ram Ranch for the plot, don't, because there isn't one. The only concrete plot points are generally agreed upon to be the first song, which introduces the setting, Ram Ranch 7, in which they are invaded by Marines, and Ram Ranch 85, in which they go to space. Otherwise, it's all pretty abstract, you know? Sometimes people want it to be like this elaborately designed world with amazing planning and patterns and maybe even some hidden secrets. It's just not that. Any attempt to analyze it falls apart extremely, just comically fast. Does it have themes? Yes. Conventions? Yes. Vibes? Absolutely. Ram Ranch knows exactly what it is about, and that is mostly nothing. I promise you. From the bottom of my heart, truly. Grant's songs also feature a notable amount of celebrity cameos. Some of them he just seems to kind of have this fixation on, like Prince Harry. Sometimes it's a political commentary, like when he features Putin or Trump and Putin doing exactly what you would expect. That being said, no character looms larger over Ram Ranch than Sean. But who the heck is Sean? That's not a celebrity. That's just a guy. Like I mentioned before, Grant drops a lot of seemingly random male names when he's, naming the cowboys or sometimes even naming his songs. But you're never totally clear on who these people are. Are they characters he made up? Are they inspired by people he knows in real life? Are they people he knows online? Because I know for a fact that one of his songs features someone I know and his university roommates. And he wrote some songs for the Twitch streamers who interviewed him.
Do you want any more names who might be interested?
For sure. Give me 6 names and I'll try to.
6 fucking names? Holy shit. Well, to piss off my dad, I'll give you his name.
No, I don't want to piss off anybody.
No, you're not going to piss him off. He would let you find it hilarious, trust me. Zach.
Oh, I like Zach. Zach is definitely getting fucked. Hey, listen, Tom, you guys are all going to get a chance to fuck Prince Harry.
Yes! I've always wanted that in life.
So clearly, it's not hard to get immortalized as a member of the Ram Ranch universe. But he's got, I kid you not, hundreds of songs dedicated to Sean alone. Sean is different. Sean is special. So naturally, Grant has been asked in interviews many times, who is Sean? And every time he describes him as just a character that he made up. This frat boy character, like the platonic ideal of a frat boy. That's what Sean is. Which doesn't fully line up, because wasn't Sean also supposed to be one of the cowboys of Ram Ranch? But now he's a frat boy? And then Grant will just offhand say stuff like, oh yeah, the other day I was talking to Sean, or oh, I was telling Sean. He describes being on a waterfront lobster date in PEI with Sean. And so it was pretty clear to most Ram Ranch fans that Sean was a real guy in Grant's life, although he seemed uninterested in discussing the details of their relationship. He would always just say, Sean is a frat boy character, whenever asked directly. We will see Sean again. Ram Ranch is honestly an excellent case study in the ability of the internet to empower weird creatives. And Grant is so aware of that. Grant loves the internet. He's an old guy and he's seen a lot of technological change in his life.
I'm a Scorpio like Bill Gates. So this whole computer world just is at my fingertips. Give it to me. Let me do it.
And he's just so in love with the internet and how easy it makes it for him to be creative and to share that with other people. It's something that I think I take for granted sometimes. My job is making weird videos about stuff that intrigues me, and I get to share it with hundreds of thousands of people almost instantaneously. Like, that's amazing. That's astounding. That's just a little thing that listening to Grant McDonald interviews, of all things, made me appreciate. His whole art form wouldn't be possible without the internet. And even if he was doing all of the photography and playing all of the instruments and doing every little thing himself, there's no way that this sort of thing would ever be picked up by any mainstream industry. Grant has this almost like worship of creativity, of creative freedom and expression. And he's got this personal pantheon of creators, not necessarily even just musicians, which I find really interesting, but even writers like Tolkien or Dante who do this incredible world building. But then also his own father and his grandfather who like fought in World War I and World War II for freedoms. He talks about all of these things equally as like these great stories that move him, great people and great achievements and freedom and creativity, and like it all comes together in this kind of insane way. I don't know, maybe I like just fully cooked my brain because I listened to like 6 hours of him talking in one day.
Every time I go to Paris, I'd be inspired by Rodin and The Thinker and The Gates of Hell. And Dante inspired Rodin to do The Thinker and The Gates of Hell. So, you know, I always respected these brilliant, you know, creative minds, you know, or as someone who, you know, appreciates what my father did for me, you know, fighting at Normandy and D-Day, you know, through Caen, the Battle of the Leopold Canal, and my grandfather, you know, these characters, you know, that I, you know, learned from, like Rodin did The Thinker, and the devotion of Dante, and these characters who have left things in our lives, you know, whether it's Elton John or whether it's, you know, George Lucas or, you know, as I say, you know, J.R.R. Tolkien. You know, J.R.R. Tolkien is such a brilliant writer. Brilliant writer, Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and The Silmarillion and all of the history. And the fact is, and you know that J.K. Rowling with Harry Potter is so fucking brilliant. So I figured, fuck that, I'm going to let it rip with Ram Ranch. Ram Ranch is going to be my Harry Potter.
So who really is Grant McDonald? I feel like I've explained to you his work and the kind of philosophy behind it, but he still remains a bit of a shadowy figure. Well, as I was saying before, Grant loves his fans. He was active in the Ram Ranch Discord, Reddit, he replies to comments, he loves the edits that people make of his work, he's willing to write random people who reach out to him into his songs. But despite this apparent closeness with his fandom, it's actually not easy to find any personal information about Grant out there. What you will hear through the grapevine, often, without any real verifiable claims or sources, just rumors that you will hear, is that Grant McDonald, while you might think at first, hearing Ram Ranch, that he's like some 20-something memer, he is actually an elderly retired investment banker from Toronto, Canada. He's got some kind of grudge against Getty Oil because they owe him money. He's posted his own address like 5 billion times. So we know he lives in a nice condo downtown Toronto. He's seemingly got money. Pictures of this condo are like insane, decked out wall to wall in Ram Ranch merch. You know, one might be tempted to assume, knowing that Grant has posted like 771 installments of Ram Ranch, that Ram Ranch is his entire life. But it's good to have confirmation that Ram Ranch is indeed his entire life. But wait just one moment, please. So you were telling me, well, I am telling you, but I think I'm like narrating this from your perspective right now. You're saying right now, Strange, you think you are telling me that Grant McDonald is like presumably a multi-millionaire former investment banker who was working for oil companies, and he just like left it all behind to write this avant-garde spoken word cowboy erotica music on the internet. It's time to get serious. Grant McDonald. I dent my wall. I did dent my wall. This, he says, is a photo of him when he was 22 years old. This is a more recent photo. I think this is from like 2020. And this one, he looks a little bit younger, or maybe a little bit photoshopped. I'm not totally sure when this one is from. These are probably from some point in the 90s. The following is a rough timeline of Grant McDonald's life, compiled from various posts he's made, interviews he's done, as well as, of course, my own sleuthing. This is not an exhaustive list of every fact Grant has ever said offhand about his life, but it's a pretty good summary of the more verifiable ones. Grant claims his ancient heritage goes back to the Scottish Highlands, specifically Clan MacDonald of Glencoe. You can read some Wikipedia articles about that if you're a nerd for this kind of stuff. Members of his family came over to Canada, specifically PEI, in the 1700s when the area was still known as Ile St. John. He says that the family bought 26,000 acres of land there upon their arrival. For those unfamiliar, PEI is a tiny maritime province of Canada, I live in Toronto and have never been there. But one time when I was like 12, I went to Girl Guides camp and I was in a cabin with 2 girls from PEI, and they tried to convince me that the whole province is like a cod fishing cult and their entire society is obsessed with cod, which, you know, I'm like 70% sure they were fucking with me. Grant McDonald was born in Summerside, PEI, in either the late 1940s or the early 1950s. He's one of 9 siblings, and his parents are Keir and Olga McDonald. He cites his father, Keir McDonald, as one of his greatest inspirations and heroes. Even though he struggled with alcohol for a lot of Grant's childhood, Grant is extremely proud of his father for eventually getting sober, and also for bravely fighting in World War II. Grant's father was knighted by the President of France for fighting at Normandy on D-Day, and his father, Grant's grandfather, Daniel MacDonald, fought in World War I. And Grant really respects him too. He grew up around multiple generations of these men, strong masculine men who aren't afraid to stand up and fight for what they believe in.
They gave us freedom, guys, and this is why I'm standing up for the freedom I have to write my lyrics and to release my songs the way that I'm doing them.
So Grant, he was the gay kid in a small town, and he did what many of them do, which is leave. Sometime around his coming of age, 18, 20-ish, Grant found himself in Toronto, the big city, where he entered into a relationship with a much older man, a successful architect and real estate developer by the name of Peter Kaspari. That's him. So gay men have always had this kind of wild hookup culture. Obviously not every gay man enjoys that, but it exists. Now there's Grindr. Back in ye olden days, men would meet each other semi-anonymously in bars, clubs, bathhouses, public parks. Every big city had certain public parks, which after dark were known to be hookup spots for men. Grant actually has a number of songs named specifically after various parks in PEI, and I feel like that's probably why. Also, because these encounters were so free, they also tended to easily traverse these boundaries like class, age, race, boundaries that have always been massive in the lesbian community, like seemingly insurmountable even to this day, but I digress, this is not a queer history lesson. Grant has never said exactly how he met Kaspari, and some might be confused by how a kid in his late teens with nothing, new in the big city, is going to get into a relationship with this older, successful real estate developer. It doesn't seem that implausible to me just from what I know about how some gay men meet each other. On a Wayback Machine archive of his website, Grant lists various degrees and certificates related to real estate and economics and stuff, business. It's unclear exactly when he got this education, also but if we take this little resume of his at face value, I think it's safe to place the undergrad degree in economics from the University of Toronto in this phase of the timeline, you know, late teens, early 20s in Toronto. So he came to the big city, went to University of Toronto, got involved in the gay community. At the age of 22, Grant says that he entered into business with his friend and lover, Peter Kaspari.
I was a multimillionaire in real estate, so I used to go over to London a lot with my friend who was a billionaire real estate developer in office buildings, and we put an apartment complex together north of Toronto that were 3 apartment towers of 28 stories and 2 office towers down into the subway, which was a shopping center and everything. So I became a multimillionaire at 22 in real estate with my friend Peter, and he was gay. He was my lover. I basically was in a financial position at that point in time with like $185 million to $250 million. We had a condo worth a couple of million in Key Biscayne, Florida, at a $7 million house in Rosedale. I go to Musée Rodin in Paris.
Now, Kaspari is definitely a real guy who definitely designed a bunch of buildings around Toronto, including the ones that Grant says he did. TheInternet.com tells me that the Shepherd Center apartments were built in 1975. It also tells me that there are 30 stories, whereas Grant says 28. There's another website that says 29. Numbers. Now, numbers with this story never seem to be, like, quite accurate. You know, is it 28 stories? Is it 29? Is it 30? Was it built in 1975? Or could it have been built in 1974 or 1976 or 1973? You know, I feel like there's a range of numbers that could be true here. So, working with these approximate numbers, if Grant was 22 years old in 1975, when this building was finished, that would make him 71 years old today. The popularly thrown around age that I see from people who seem to have been insiders in his community is 73. And those numbers are close enough together that I feel confident in saying that Grant McDonald is 70-ish years old.
My dad was an alcoholic when I went to high school. So when I became wealthy in Toronto, I went back to Prince Edward Island. I got them a resort where he quit drinking.
And I'm going to be honest, this was like when I was researching this seemed like a bit of a plot twist, because going into it, I just kind of had this like assumption that this kind of kooky, artsy guy who said he'd worked as an investment banker was like just probably a nepotism baby. Like, oh yeah, because probably his dad was an investment banker and he like tried it out for a while, but his real passion was cowboy erotica. But that's not the story at all. So as one does, Grant decided to take his millions to pursue his creative dreams in Hollywood. He enrolled at UCLA for drama.
So I went out to Hollywood, gee whiz, with wealth and, gee whiz, brand new Lincoln on the, like UCLA campus, Sunset Boulevard, Bel Air, Hollywood, and in the pool were the water polo boys, just south of Sunset Boulevard there in Westwood on campus. And, I have such great memories of kicking back by the pool in the sun with the water polo boys bouncing up and down in the pool with their big hard cocks and their Speedos. Of all my songs that I can put on repeat, that's one of them. I can fucking put Water Polo Boy on, and it blows my fucking mind. It's like Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, or,
While there, he describes living with a UCLA professor by the name of, oh my god, what was his name? Who? Oh my god, where is he? Did I put him on here? Professor Jean Levine. How they met, what their living situation was, what their relationship was, completely unclear, though Grant does describe Levine as a brilliant gay professor. It's also possible that he was never really enrolled as a UCLA drama student, that his friendship with Levine came before that, and that, like he seems to imply in these Discord messages, he just took advantage of some free courses that were available to Levine at UCLA. It's possible that Grant might have just had an incredible talent for seducing old successful men and making their privilege into his own. It's clear that during his time in LA, Hollywood and fame were very seductive ideas to Grant. Even to this day in interviews, he'll like vividly recall brief encounters that he had with famous people. Like he talked to one of the Beatles at a bar once. Okay, he met Elizabeth Taylor's son once. And like he just hangs on to every word that these famous people said to him as if it's like sacred. He also claims to have worked in Hollywood and been in various movies during this time. If he was in the movies that he claims to have been in, I assume he must have been like an extra or a crew member or something, because he's definitely not in them in the way that you would usually say that someone is in a movie. Grant ultimately did not stay long at UCLA. He says that he never graduated and instead returned to Toronto to pursue investment banking. Though he says that he always saw this as, not a change of plans, just he saw it as a way of ultimately funding his creative endeavors. So he's saying, it's all part of the plan. It's all part of the vision. Grant's company is called McDonald International Investment Banking Corporation, or just McDonald Bank for short. He still maintains the McDonald Bank website to this day, although now it's full of like Ram Ranch and pictures of his family and some other fun stuff that we will get to. But Wayback Machine archives of the website, blessedly, all hail the Wayback Machine, go back to the year 2000. Now, Grant's been doing weird stuff for a long time. So this 24 years of archives of the website is mostly full of weird stuff. However, the absolute earliest archive, the single oldest, literally there was one single archive of the website, the very earliest one, which does not contain anything weird and appears on the surface to be a website that someone might stumble upon if they're looking for normal banking services. And it is still a pretty weird looking website. That is the only relic, the only evidence I can find of McDonald Bank ever being anything other than just Grant's funny website where he posts his weird stuff. So back to the timeline, okay? The timeline. Grant leaves LA to come back to Toronto, according to himself, to pursue investment banking. This is perhaps where some of that other education that he mentions comes in. Levine, the professor that he lived with, was a professor of sociology at UCLA, but he also had an interest in psychology and psychoanalysis, and Grant also says that he went to Ryerson, which is now known as TMU, for psychology. So maybe that was Professor Levine inspired him to do that, Or maybe he just wrote that on his website because he thought it looked good, because Professor Levine convinced him Freud is super cool or whatever. I don't know. I don't know how much of this is true, and I'm really doing my best here with the information that is out there. So Grant definitely seems to have bounced around quite a lot in his 20s, but it all comes together, okay, in this insane way. I need to now tell you the most bonkers piece of Grant McDonald lore. Grant has claimed very consistently over the years, many times, he has said that while he was an investment banker, he helped facilitate the 1979 merger between Getty Oil and a Canadian company called Reserve Oil and Gas, which caused the value of Getty Oil to go up by $1 billion. Hence his catchphrase, "I earned Getty Oil $1 billion." Although now it's $4 billion, which he says is adjusted for inflation. So for a long time, it was always the $1 billion figure. Now he says $4 billion, but it's both of these things are referring to the same oil merger that he says he did. Grant claims that he is, to this day, owed over $6 million in fees by Getty Oil for his role in this merger.
To finance my movies, I put this big oil deal together in New York, the Getty Reserve acquisition. Then my Harvard undergrad presented my bill for a measly $6,440,000. The Gettys gave me like a David Spade, like, and you are, you know?
This is a vendetta against them that he has maintained for 40 years.
The train clicks along in the darkness as the dim light shines on financial papers with pages of stocks seemingly never ending. This was after a limo ride and a luncheon meeting at the exclusive Cafe Fenton's in Toronto with the chairman of Rank Organization's Canadian Holdings, Derek Montague. I had initially advised the previous Rank Canada chairman, Peter Gasperi, on the development of Shepherd Centre, a huge office residential development located in the north area of Toronto.
So lucky for my research, but not for David Montague, he died in 2008, and his obituary states that he worked for a company called Rank City Wall, which I assume is what Grant means when he says the Rank Organization. It's honestly hard to find any records of it. I think it was a property management company that started in the UK and then later founded a Canadian branch. Honestly, Googling them mostly just brings up a lot of lawsuits from their tenants.
Mr. Montague acknowledged that if I were to present an oil company that Rank may evaluate it for possible acquisition, this was when I decided to take the train ride out west. Pondered the ongoing flow of data until I came across a company listed under the energy sector named Canadian Reserve. It sounded like a good name. I'll have to check the data further on this one as well as several others that I had added to my list of possible candidates for a takeover.
So if this is all getting a little bit confusing now, Grant had dated Peter Gasperi, that's him, who was the previous CEO of the Rank Organization. Now the CEO was David Montague, but Grant still had these connections with Rank, and he decided it was a quirky little idea for Rank to buy an oil company. So he proposes this idea to Montague, and Montague's like, okay, sure, go find me an oil company. So Grant is on the hunt to do just that. As fantastic as Grant McDonald's Getty movie is, I think I'm going to read the rest of this just for the sake of time. Upon arriving in Calgary, I was able to get the annual report from Canadian Reserve showing where their assets were and what the financial picture was like. It seemed as though they had vast holdings in the Pembina area of Alberta, which was one of the biggest deposits of oil in North America. After doing further research into the geological areas, I was impressed with the holdings and the financials looked solid. Canadian Reserve was worth $140 billion and would certainly make a nice division to own. I arrived in Portland, whereupon Eric, my legal advisor, was kind enough to allow me to use his corporate offices to handle any last-minute details in preparation for my 4 o'clock, September 9th, 1997 meeting in Denver. Upon my arrival at the Reserve offices in Denver, I met with Mr. Meadows and Mr. Green, VP of Reserve, whereupon we discussed the possibilities of me presenting Reserve with an acquisition bid. I then flew to Los Angeles after speaking with Mr. Montague from Rank. He said that he was flying to London, England, and would present the situation to Rank, but it may be something that Rank would be unable to acquire at this time. He did mention that he was aware of the wealthy Winsinger family in Bakersfield, who may be interested in such an entity. After several calls, I was able to speak with the Winsinger family, whereupon I arranged an appointment to meet with them at 1 o'clock, October 4th, 1977. Eric Hessler and I met at the Bakersfield airport, and a young gentleman from the family met us at the airport. As we drove across the landscape, the driver pointed out to the horizon and stated that they owned all of the land up to the mountains, as oil rigs pumped oil from the land as we drove on. They too declined to make a bid, and stated that they were interested in Beverly Hills. So Rank wasn't going to buy Reserve, and neither was this other rich family that Montague knew. So Grant had put in all this effort, and he's decided he's going to sell Reserve to someone. After several days, on October 10th, 1997, I decided to call Getty Oil Company to speak with their executive level, to see whether they might be interested in acquiring Reserve. I put together data and had it relayed to Harold Berg, chairman of Getty Oil, as well as to Robert Tallboy, a key executive in charge of production, and immediately thereafter called the Los Angeles office of Reserve chairman John R. McMillan to establish that Reserve was officially presented to Getty Oil Company. Mr. McMillan was somewhat shocked to hear that Reserve was put on the street, as it were, but I assured him that it was handled with the utmost level of dignity. Meanwhile, Denison Mines from Toronto decided to make a bid at $27.50 US a share, worth $525 million. Shortly thereafter, Getty Oil Company offered Denison Mines $10 million to withdraw their bid in anticipation of a bid for Reserve. On January 23, 1980, Getty Oil Company completed their takeover of Reserve Oil and Gas at $35 per share, worth $620 million. Getty Oil Company was worth $6.5 billion in 1982, and based on the eventual Texaco Incorporated takeover of Getty Oil Company at $10 billion, and with the subsequent market value increase of Reserve Oil and Gas Company to well over $1.3 billion within Getty Oil Company, if that $625 million in market value increase were invested, Reserve easily earned the Getty shareholders more than $1 billion in profit. The McDonald Bank website also features 2 letters, one written by Grant's lawyer, Eric Hessler, one written by his friend, brilliant gay professor Gene Levine, and he uses these letters also as evidence that his story is true. May 13th, 1980, to J.R. McMillan, Chairman, Reserve Oil and Gas Company. Dear Mr. McMillan, this firm represents Mr. Grant McDonald, who acted as a finder in connection with the recent sale of shares of Reserve Oil and Gas Company to Getty Oil Company. Mr. McDonald has asked us to handle arrangements for the collection of his finder's fee in the computed amount of $6,440,000. We should very much appreciate a prompt response from you or an appropriate representative. Very truly yours, Eric Hessler. May 1st, 2001, to Barry Munitz, President and CEO, J.P. Getty's Trust. Dear Mr. Munitz, I see that you were Chancellor of the California State University in 1991. I am a code law graduate from Paris and UCLA Professor Emeritus Sociology. I have known Grant McDonald since 1973, and I have been ever impressed with his insights and aptitude. I recall that he stated to me that he had advised a senior executive within the Rank organization regarding a major real estate development in Toronto. I also recall that Grant was promoting the merger of Reserve Oil and Gas Company when he visited me in Brentwood on September 9, 1977. He was in fact arriving from a meeting in Denver with the president of Reserve, Mr. Meadows. Grant was a welcomed overnight guest in my home for several weeks in fall 1977. He told me that since he was involved in an advisory capacity with the previous president of Rank, Peter Kaspari, that he had hoped that Rank may purchase Reserve. I was aware that he had presented Reserve to several Canadian companies for evaluation. My diary shows that he flew to Bakersfield to meet with Eric Hessler, his Harvard attorney, on October 4th, 1977, whereupon he returned to my residence in Brentwood later that evening. I later met Hessler in West Hollywood. From October 4th to the 11th, Grant and I visited the Getty Museum together, quite possibly October 8th. He was fascinated with Getty Oil Company and J.P. Getty, and at a later date I became aware that he indeed communicated with executives at Getty Oil Company. He shared his vision of a possible Reserve corporate merger with Getty Oil Company one evening. To this date, Grant is proud to have structured this deal, to reflect on the market value increase of Getty Oil Company from $6.5 billion to $10 billion, further implies a drastic increase in the values of assets and shares. That Grant has recognized no fee all these years is inexplicable to me. Have you any advice for the man? Yours sincerely, Gene and Levine. Do you feel it yet? Do you feel it? Are you feeling it? Are you feeling it? Your brain melting? Are you feeling it? Now, I don't really know anything about investment banking or oil company mergers. I'm just an internet clown. But I think it is possible. It's possible. You know, it is not impossible that Grant overestimates his own role in putting the merger together. Like I said, I don't know how these things generally work, but like, how was this 6,440,000 figure arrived at? You would think this would be the sort of thing that he would have in writing from Getty Oil before the deal went through. You would think there would be some sort of documentation. You would think there would be better evidence than like some letters written by his friends like, yeah, he told me this is true. Anyway, regardless of Getty Oil totally blowing him off, Grant was still making tons and tons of money from other avenues. So he did what you do when you make a ton of money, and he bought a $7 million mansion in Rosedale, which is a neighborhood of Toronto that is known for $7 million mansions, grocery stores with $12 milked pistachios or fucking whatever. You know the type of place. But in doing this, he realized that this lifestyle wasn't really for him.
I don't want the big mansion castle. I don't want to be a bird in a cage. I want to do something important like Picasso, Scorpio, Rodin was Scorpio. Like, these guys left the legacy in the world that, you know, like, whoa. Salvador Dali or Dante. Sure, you can go shop and you can buy leather, you can buy a new Cadillac. Through all that stuff, the materialistic side of my life is not that important anymore, per se.
In the 1980s, Grant met Junius Fridfinson, who would become his life partner. They were together until Junius's death in 2016 at the age of 86. His obituary describes Grant as his proud husband of 36 years, though Grant himself always refers to Junius in interviews as his friend, which is an understandable relic of presumably having to live decades where they had to hide their relationship. Junius was a civil engineer who worked for CNCP Telecommunications, working to expand Canada's telecommunications infrastructure all over the country. Grant even says in one interview that he worked on the construction of the CN Tower, which, if you didn't know, is not just a big, tall, cool stick that defines the Toronto skyline. It's also just a big radio tower.
He'd be on his computer system, and I would say to him, because he's a structural engineer, really brilliant, you know, put the dishes up in the CN Tower out to the satellites. So anyway, I would always speak with him and say, hey, let's build a time machine, you know. So I would just jokingly say, hey, how's the time machine coming along? And he'd say, oh, it'll be ready in time.
Yeah, just because I'm a billionaire doesn't mean that I have everything. Gonna get me a time machine. Yeah, gonna go back into time. Gonna hold my loved one again. Tell him how much I love him.
In the year of our Lord, 2000, Grant finally returned to his true creative calling. But you see, it was not cowboy erotica that first inspired Grant to create his unique style of art. It was Getty Oil, his old grudge against Getty Oil. Oh yes, his very first album. Pictured right here. Okay, I'll put it on screen so you can see it better. This is straight out of the butthole of the Wayback Machine. It is entitled $1 Billion. Songs include $1 Billion, Getty Reserve, JP Getty, $1 Billion Plus, Sure Proud of My Dad, Dear Quebec, A Life of Opulence, Getty Soundtrack 1, Watch Me, Getty Soundtrack 2, Sounds of the Night, Sensual Sexual, Olga's Song. Olga is his mother.
As I say to my mother and father, you know, I went out to Hollywood to get into the movie industry, and my oil deal in New York was my launching pad for my music. I reflect back with such satisfaction out of knowing that I put this big oil deal together, but it allowed me to launch my music career.
He also put out a 9-minute film entitled Getty Movie, which you could order on DVD on his website. I was originally mistaken in assuming that the 9-minute cut of Getty Movie was the original and that the 39-minute director's cut had come after, but upon squinting very hard at my Wayback Machine archives, it appears that the 39-minute cut, rounded up to 40 minutes, is the one that he was first selling on DVD. Though my personal favorite is Getty Movie 3D. Of course, obviously, Getty Movie, everyone's fucking favorite movie, Getty Movie 3D by Grant McDonald!
Turns out JP Getty may have been a Nazi. His family even goes back to Germany, with Hitler, Goring, and Goebbels heated stone.
Are you fucking feeling it, boys? Dudes, guys, fellow men? In summary, Grant claims that he earned Getty Oil $1 billion, $4 billion with inflation, and the way they treat him, it really sucks.
The way they treat me, it really sucks.
Which is why he is suing them for $22 billion for war crimes. He accuses JP Getty of having been a Nazi, sympathizing with the Nazis, hiding Nazi spies in America, supplying oil to the Nazis in exchange for pieces of art that the Nazis had looted, which of course would then end up in the Getty Museum.
Yes, officials have found several artifacts attributed to the Nazi era, but all employees of the Getty Museum remain within the building. The doors are sealed. All employees of the Getty Museum up against the wall. You're all under arrest. Yes, officials have found several artifacts attributed to the Nazi era.
Grant sees this battle against Getty Oil as justice for his father and other World War II vets, as well as Holocaust victims. Now, you can watch the nearly 40-minute Getty movie director's cut if you want, but it's also very conveniently summarized on the Getty Hitler War Crimes lawsuit page of the McDonald Bank website. Now, I was curious whether this is like a common conspiracy theory or if it's like a bespoke Grant McDonald original conspiracy theory. And there's like a little bit of precedent, but I will say it's still a very unpopular and unique conspiracy theory.
J.P. Getty, FBI file number 100-1202, dated June 26, 1940. Espionage. It was the job of the FBI to root out internal enemies of the USA. Information on Getty was also collected by the Navy Department and by military intelligence, and was forwarded to J. Edgar Hoover, Director of the FBI, and to A. Burrell Jr., Assistant Secretary of State, and to officials at the U.S. Justice Department. With J.P. Getty in Berlin, the Getty-owned Pierre Hotel in New York City becoming a hotbed for Germans?
He's got all of these papers, like, taped to his window. 18 minutes and 3 seconds, you can see out his window the CN Tower, and oh buddy, oh boy, was this taken in the 90s or early 2000s, because that is not what downtown Toronto looks like now. But he's got, like, just all these papers taped to his window, and most of them are, like, news articles about Getty Oil. There's a picture of J.P. Getty's mom, who was German. There's what looks almost, it's like styled like almost a university degree that says that Grant did the merger between the two oil companies. So I assume he must have made that? Because if there's documentation of that, you'd think there would definitely be documentation of $6 million he says that he's owed. You know, and the whole clip is just him like ominously, it's like slowly panning the camera around all these papers, and it's so dark and blurry and you can't read shit. So I'm going to have to go to other sources to get to the bottom of this. I thought to myself, 30 minutes into Grant McDonald's surrealist Getty Oil call-out post from the year 2000 in the middle of a Tuesday morning in my one life on this earth. So I'm going to try to cut this up into little pieces for you to understand. J.P. Getty founded the Getty Museum in the 70s. Since then, they have had lots of fun scandals about various stolen, looted pieces ending up in their collection, though the vast majority of those are pieces of ancient Greek or Italian origin. They do own a number of art pieces that were once stolen by the Nazis, but those pieces were legally acquired decades after World War II. The claim that J.P. Getty was BFFs with Hitler and supplying the Nazis oil goes back to this one article, this Daily News article from 1940, which says that. There's not really sources. I don't know why they said that, but someone said it once in 1940 in the Daily News. That's it. And the FBI was aware of these claims, took these claims seriously. They launched an espionage investigation into J.P. Getty during World War II, and they found nothing. And Grant, on his website in Getty Movie, whatever, he loves to go, oh, the FBI investigated J.P. Getty, the declassified FBI documents. Okay, but like, what do the declassified FBI documents say? Okay, they say there's no evidence that any of this ever happened. That being said, just because there isn't extremely concrete proof in the hands of the FBI, it doesn't mean that it couldn't be true. Maybe some of it is true. Maybe it's not true at all. I'm gonna be honest with you. It was kind of hard to fact check this one due to the sheer crunchiness of the primary sources. But we're gonna move on because I don't really care to stand here and defend an oil billionaire. Why would I do that? So to recap, Grant McDonald is a 70 to 75-year-old man from Toronto, Canada, my own beautiful home city. He is undoubtedly within a 5-mile radius of me at this very moment. So, that's humbling. He moved here from PEI probably pretty soon after graduating high school, where he entered into a relationship with successful real estate developer and architect Peter Kaspari. They made some buildings after making his first casual millions in real estate with the credentials of being gay. He decided to move to LA, to go to UCLA to study drama, to be in Hollywood. And there was something about water polo boys and Freud, but Hollywood didn't work out. Grant did not have time to work as an extra on sets and work his way up in Hollywood. No. He wanted to fund his own creative vision, which means that he had to go back to Toronto to make some money in investment banking. He claims that as an investment banker, he facilitated the merger between Getty Oil and Reserve Oil and Gas in 1979, and that he was never paid the over $6 million fee that he was owed for doing this, although you'd think if he really was stiffed for over $6 million by Getty Oil, he would probably have some kind of legal avenue to suing them for that money, but instead he's suing them for being Nazis. So when Grant finally returned to his true calling of making art, and when we saw his distinctive style emerge for the first time, the subject of that art, those videos and that music, was Getty Oil. And he did the Getty Oil thing for a couple years. The train clicks on the declassified FBI documents, all employees of the Getty Museum. But Grant McDonald is a man who contains multitudes. And he very soon started writing music about his homoerotic experiences and fantasies as well. And that is how we slowly end up segueing into his Ram Ranch era. In 2022, Canada was plagued by something called the Freedom Convoy, or the Trucker Convoy, which was a cross-country protest against COVID vaccines. As I'm sure you recall, shipping and supply chains were all messed up during the pandemic. So for a long time, truck drivers who regularly crossed the Canadian-American border were exempt from needing to be vaccinated to do their job to minimize any additional delays that might cause. Then both countries ended that exemption in January of 2022. By this point, 85% of truckers were already vaccinated. The Canadian Truckers Alliance has condemned this protest, so it wouldn't be fair to equate all truckers with being anti-vax forever. However, the anti-vaxxers, and specifically anti-vaxxers with ties to the trucking community, used this end to the vaccine exemption in January of 2022 as a catalyst to start the Freedom Convoy. There was a few different groups with trucks and some other vehicles following them that drove all around Canada, stopping in various cities, blocking roads and government buildings, and generally being a nuisance. By late January, they all descended on Ottawa and occupied the capital for weeks, basically making downtown Ottawa an uninhabitable hellscape. I had a friend who lived there during the time, and he just was not having a good life at that moment. There was flags everywhere, freedom rhetoric, obviously trying very hard to emulate the American far right. But I don't know, it's there's just something kind of inherently unserious about our silly little leaf flag. It doesn't really have the same effect. But what do you know? It was largely praised, promoted, and funded by the American right. So whenever people don't like my opinions about American politics, and they're like, why don't you just shut up, and why do you even care, you stupid Canadian? Your hazardous waste disaster is leaking into our water supply, okay? That's why. Anyway, we're gonna get back to Grant McDonald, I promise. So one of the convoys in Windsor had an infiltrator, this guy named Tegan McLean, who gained the trust of the organizers leading up to the protest with the actual intention of disrupting it on the day of. The organizers were using a walkie-talkie app called Zello, and just when they needed those communication channels most, McLean kicked out all of the other moderators, let in a bunch of counter-protesters, and blasted Ram Ranch.
I've heard tough cowboys, the cock's driving the herd.
You guys, like I was saying, are nitwits, trust too easily, and I got set up to what I had to do, and the cops are coming to hit hard. They have all the information they need. You guys are welcome. Ram Ranch Resistance!
Convoy members attempted to regroup on Twitter, but met the same fate there. Reporter Paul McLeod, who wrote an article for BuzzFeed about this whole situation, was live tweeting that stream, and someone started playing Ram Ranch on this feed. Christ on a cross, one protester yells. There's a lot of talk of needing money. None of us know how to use that goddamn Bitcoin, says one guy. What happened to the money we donated? I gave $600, says one woman. It's gone, bye, says another. This has gone off the rails. Actual quote just now. What is this Ram Ranch people are talking about? Is it somewhere we can go and get our money? Some guy claiming to be a trucker supporter says he knows of an American company willing to insure Canadian truckers. It's called Codename of Extremely Gross Thing to Google. Hold on, let me write that down. Oh my god. After another guy goes on a monologue about sucking off truckers, the protesters are trying to figure out how to kick out all of the Ram Ranchers. Quotes that are either from truckers or ranchers pretending to be truckers, I can no longer tell. Who's ramming? I've been rammed too many times over these last couple of weeks. A solid 20 seconds of someone blowing their nose.
Hello, truckers.
Hey, Freedom.
If you've got a moment to spare, I would love to sing you a song, a freedom song, to lift your spirits. I know this is a really hard time with Trudeau bringing in the army or whatever the hell, the money army, whatever the hell he's going to do. So I thought I'd sing you a quick freedom song, if that's okay with y'all. Let me sing you a song of these heroes who stood against the Union troops for the last free ranch in Southland, and their number 20-2. As the forces of the state came marching, they rode out to meet their foes, and at the end of the day's hard riding, they would take off their freedom-loving clothes. Now it's 18 hard cocks waiting to be sucked, and it's 18 cowboys waiting to be fucked at the Ram Ranch. Baby, the Ram Ranch. The Ram Ranch.
Getting rammed. Very nice song. I loved every second of it.
Fucking rammed. James, I can't take any more. I think we're gonna have to call this.
If we do the Ram Ranch, what you gonna do song, that contract.
It's Grant McDonald. Get him out of here. Get Grant McDonald out of here. It's one individual. That's it. It's Grant McDonald. He's a homosexual from the Toronto. We got to get him out. He's the mastermind behind all of this. His career was failing, and he's taking advantage of our suffering.
Other cities took inspiration from this. Hashtag Ram Ranch Resistance was coined on Twitter. It briefly became popular for people to post videos of themselves messing with the truckers in the same way. It all feels pretty in line with like the original intention behind the Ram Ranch meme, just to play it in these moments that were kind of shocking or inappropriate, except weaponized now. The trucker convoy was like all over the news constantly in Canada while it was happening, because it was like one of the most dramatic things happening, so that makes sense. But this is the only time that Ram Ranch and Grant McDonald were ever reported on by the mainstream news. And it's a very interesting case study. Grant told various publications that he was delighted that his song was being used this way, that he was on the side of medical science and vaccines, and that actually Ram Ranch had always been intended as a protest song against injustice.
Ram Ranch is just an erotic cowboy song that happens at Ram Ranch in the showers.
It's descriptive. It uses a lot of adult language, and it's proven to be highly effective when it comes to irritating anti-government protest organizers, way more than Baby Shark. So suddenly, Grant McDonald's 10-year-old song has found a new audience.
My dear friend who passed away from cancer several years ago, his niece lives in Toronto, and she's a nurse married to a doctor who has 2 boys who are doctors. She texted me the other night and said, "Grant, you're a hero." She said, "Everyone in the hospitals know that it's your song that's standing up for the doctors and nurses." And I was just absolutely elated. I've had my booster shot. I stand up for the doctors and nurses and frontline workers.
And it turns out this isn't the first time Ram Ranch has been used in this way.
I've had fans all over the world that have used Ram Ranch as a rebel song, and school guys would play it in class.
In fact, Grant wrote the song as a form of protest.
So I put out my first song, Best Friend Jake used to go swimming in the lake. Been to Nashville and Memphis, so I sent it down to Nashville radio stations, and basically what came back from there was that, no, we can't play your song, but we'll take a donation to our church. Homophobia right off the top. 2 guys in the lake. I basically told Nashville where to go. I took out a piece of paper and I started writing 18 naked cowboys in the showers. And that's how it came about.
Now, some people have expressed concern that homophobia is behind the use of the song by counter-protesters, but that's not how Grant sees it.
You know, I'm openly gay, and I'm honored to be gay. Yeah, I live in Toronto. I am of Church Street in Toronto. I am from Charlie's in Toronto. You know, I stand up for our gay clubs, our community.
He came out of this brief brush with the mainstream news being portrayed as almost heroic, with Ram Ranch being this symbol of progressive politics and gay rights, a fuck you to closed-mindedness of all kinds. We love vaccines and gay people, and don't you know Ram Ranch was a rebel song from the very beginning? In this moment, Grant had the potential to be seen as this almost Chuck Tingle-like figure, if you know what I mean.
We have one life to live, and we got to appreciate every day and treat each other with love and compassion.
Definitely.
So that's where my music comes in at. I stand up for our core to show that, hey, if you want to reach out to your buddy and hold him in your arms and whisper in his ear that you love him, then we have that freedom. If there's love to be shown to your fellow man out there, then do it. You know, whoa.
Yo, yo, yo. Yo, 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 yo. Yo, yo, yo. Hold your head high above the clouds. High above the clouds. Be proud. LGBT, two spirits. Be a lesbian, be gay, be bi, be a trans, be two spirit, proud of who you are. We're all God's children, we're all God's children, we are born the way we are.
Cringe is dead, yay for male vulnerability and love and fun. And sure, that is a mythology that you can make it make sense if you want it to. And I guess it's not even completely untrue, because for a lot of people whose only introduction to Ram Ranch was it being used this way during the trucker convoy, that is what it was. But at this point, I've seen enough interviews with Grant that I know some poor CBC editor had to cut out like 20 minutes of him rambling about Getty Oil. The articles written about this time either don't mention or very quickly glaze over the fact that he has written hundreds of installments of Ram Ranch and seems to do nothing else with his time, or his weird winding backstory, because once you look into what is actually going on there, it stops being so simple. The meaning of Ram Ranch that was championed during the trucker convoy is almost the complete opposite of the meaning of Ram Ranch that has been arrived at online. The people who post excitedly every time Grant releases a new song or start Discord servers dedicated to his work are not cool progressive gay people who are using it as a rebel anthem. They're mostly 4chan freaks. Okay, just to clarify, when I call them 4chan freaks, I am not necessarily calling them users of the website 4chan. I am calling men who say slurs for fun on the internet and then yell about being so edgy 4chan freaks, in the same way they would call someone who looks like me a Tumblr freak. It's just a sense that someone probably aligns with certain values and stereotypes associated with that website. One former member of the Ram Ranch Discord server says, basically, for the past 5 years, Grant has been on a fan-made Ram Ranch Discord server where he spammed advertisements for his songs and would occasionally get furious at blatantly obvious trolls. The guy who made the Discord was a 12-year-old who initially made it for a Roblox group, but it snowballed in size and eventually became edgy shitposting server that just so happened to be Ram Ranch themed and had the dumb as bricks, potentially demented or schizophrenic creator Grant McDonald isolated in a fake channel called General. Another said, friend of mine was in the Discord many years ago. Apparently they would all get on VC and sing the songs, and so would Grant himself. Apparently the server is comprised of unironic gay people, unironic Nazis, and unironic gay Nazis. I believe that is for 2 reasons. Firstly, Grant is what some might call, I'm sorry this word is about to come out of my mouth, I do feel tainted about it. Lol cow. In these instances, the people who are following him and interacting with him don't necessarily like him, they like the spectacle of him, and often they find Ram Ranch funny because they are violently homophobic. And reason number 2 is the actual content of a lot of Grant McDonald's work can lend itself to a misogynistic or racist interpretation. I'm not saying that that's the original intention, just that fans who think this way are often validated by him. For example, Grant says the N-word a lot. I genuinely think that Grant just thinks he's like cool and he's like paying homage to all of the rappers who inspired him.
I owe so much to the hood, to the rap world, to the black community, to the brothers. So they opened the door for me like Eminem. So, you know, like I have to pay homage.
But at the same time, like an elderly white dude saying the N-word as like a prominent feature of his music, the vast majority of people, I think, look at that and go, oh, yikes. The people who celebrate that, the people who get excited to emulate that, are, shit. And I know that Ram Ranch fans, if they're watching this, are the type to go, ooh, are you and your pronouns offended now? My personal ethics are just against perpetuating narratives that seem reductive or dehumanizing, and also, you know, against saying the N-word. Ooh, my free speech, though, is not like, it's not the checkmate conversation ender that some people seem to think that it is. Like, oh, I get to say whatever I want. Yeah, you sure do. That doesn't exempt you from criticisms or consequences of what you choose to say. I'm gonna use my free speech to say I think you're a dickhole for that. So, you know, I had this thought, I had this crazy thought when I first started researching this video. I thought, well, there's not a ton of publicly available information about Grant McDonald. But if anyone's investigated this and knows the details, it's gotta be the people who are in his Discord server. That's gotta be where the information is, right? Where the people who knew him and care the most are, right? Right? That sounds like it should be true. So I joined it, and no, it was really just a lot of spamming the N-word and hardcore porn gifs, and proudly announcing that the server is a boys' club, and there's no women allowed.
Have you encountered any female fans? As far as, you know, just like anything in general within the scene. Because I know, you know, it's crazy. There's tons of us guys that love the music, but you know what? I don't know if I have any sort of female fans. It's crazy.
No, hey, listen, do you want to know something? Here, that's a very good point, because I was there not too long ago doing a fucking interview, you know, up at Discord. As a rule, my music's for fucking guys. I do not want to have anything to do with the fucking chicks, because, oh, yeah, they're harassed. How dare you harass me with those photos? How dare you show me a guy in a pair of Speedos? How dare you? So I just says, fuck you, this is about cowboys. So I'm in fucking Discord, I'm doing this fucking interview, I'm getting along great with all the guys. So all of a sudden pops up this little prissy fucking witch. And she's offended. I know. Get the fuck off this planet, you know, like you are criticizing my fucking world.
Yeah, like what fucking female is gonna want to sit down and listen to like 90 naked cowboys with hot buttholes?
And I will say, the Discord server has a bad reputation even in other parts of the Ram Ranch community. It's widely considered a cesspit, even among normal fans, who are a normal amount racist and misogynistic. Thankfully, when I joined, nobody was online, so I poked around for maybe 30 minutes and then left without being noticed. The fact that most people seem to think that Grant McDonald is just this cringy lolcow who validates their homophobia, misogyny, racism, take your pick, was not real. It was kind of an unfortunate twist when it came to trying to research what was really going on with him. My only sources of any potentially reliable insider information were Discord, Reddit, and Kiwi Farms. And very few people on those sites seemed interested in finding out what actually happened to him. And if me and my haircut and my pronouns came in there and tried to ask them, well, I wonder how that would go. There was just piles of gleeful misinformation, people starting rumors that he was dead, confirmed by real sources, which was someone pretending to be his sister. Someone read some random unrelated case highlighted on Grant's lawyer's website and said, yep, that's definitely about him. Case closed, guys. Most people seemed perfectly happy just saying slurs and posting obituaries of men who shared the name Grant McDonald but were not him. Thankfully, buried in the cesspit. I waited through the cesspit for this video. Okay, I went in the cesspit. There was also a handful of useful posts that helped me start to piece together a timeline of what happened. In December of 2023, Grant posted this GoFundMe. One former Discord member said, Grant released a very vague GoFundMe titled Defend Ram Ranch, claiming that he is being targeted by some random Canadian politician, Pierre Poilievre. His smooth brain at the time seemed incapable of realizing that Sean could have ever stabbed him in the back. Sometime in late December, Grant mysteriously stopped posting on Discord, which he would usually spam on hundreds of times a day. We assumed someone DM'd him gore or something since that has happened before, but 2 weeks after he stopped talking, Grant's account got deleted, and a random mod who doesn't post anything terms of service breaking got taken down for unconsensual sharing of pornography or something along those lines. Not even a couple days later, Grant leaks this letter from a law firm that he was absolutely not meant to share on Twitter. Dear Mr. McDonald, we are legal counsel to Mr. Sean Redacted. This letter serves as a formal notice for you to cease and desist any and all communications with Sean and persons related to him, including his friends, acquaintances, employer, and professional colleagues. Please also cease and desist from posting about Sean on any social media platform or website. Further, please cease and desist from directing or encouraging other individuals to contact Sean or persons related to him or posting about Sean on any social media platform or website. Under no circumstances should you attempt to communicate with Sean directly or through others. This letter also serves as a formal notice for you to cease and desist disseminating intimate sexualized images and recordings of Sean in any form. He does not consent to distribution of intimate images or recordings relating to him in any format. However, do not delete any images or recordings as they are relevant evidence in a civil legal case that is being contemplated against you. We recommend that you obtain legal counsel. However, we wish to advise that we will not discuss the pending criminal proceedings with you or your counsel. Grant was obviously extremely shocked to receive this, to the point of not even really taking it seriously, like, at all, as this eloquent Kiwi Farms user has pointed out. He seemed incapable of realizing that Sean was capable of backstabbing him. So I know I foreshadowed this at the beginning. I teased it a little bit at the beginning, but okay, I just need to rip the band-aid off and tell you right now, Sean is Grant's nephew. This came as a shock to many of McDonald's fans. Even some dedicated Ram Ranch fanboys ended up distancing themselves from him over this. They could excuse the N-word, but they draw the line at incest. And it turns out Grant's Discord server had known this about Sean since around 2021. It started when a member of the server noted that Grant's sister shared a last name with Sean and confronted him about it. The recording of that Discord call is known as The Confession.
Hey, and furthermore, do you know in fucking Australia and France that uncles are allowed legally to marry their nieces? My fucking music is cutting fucking edge stuff. It's, going where maybe no music went before, 18 fucking naked cowboys in the showers, and furthermore, you guys in America and Alabama and the fucking South, if there's fucking rednecks that are fucking their nieces or hey, listen, this is nephews. I don't fucking go for the niece shit. You go up to porno sites and you put in uncle, and there's about 687 fucking videos up there of an uncle fucking his frat boy nephew with all the other frat boys. So don't hold your fucking brow up too fucking high. Like,
Grant defended the ethics of uncle-nephew relationships on various other occasions and was known to get extremely upset and argumentative if anybody criticized him for it. And now we are truly crossing a line into some very sticky subject matter. Sean has made his desire for privacy in this case extremely clear, and while I think this story is super interesting and I want to tell it, I also want to balance that with respecting his desire for privacy. The first name Sean is common enough that I don't think anybody is going to identify him based on that alone. Other personal details about him have been shared by Grant or dug up by Grant's fans. I don't want anybody to be able to identify him based off of the information in this video, so I will not be identifying him in any way beyond he is an adult man by the name of Sean. On the topic of the intimate recordings that were shared, one Discord member said, "We had to privately archive Grant's channels on the Discord since it contains thousands of images of what are now considered illegal revenge porn, but he'd post not safe for work videos and images of Sean constantly. We had to lock him to a single channel because he would derail any conversation with his senile spam. Grant's objectively a creepy/demented fuck, but it was really fun trolling him and seeing what schizophrenic ideas are running through his..." By the way, I don't feel like I need to say this to my regular audience, but Ram Ranch is a topic that's out of my usual wheelhouse, and I don't know who's watching this video. Don't use schizophrenic or any other mental illness in a derogatory way like this when you're trying to shit on someone or call them crazy. People with really marginalized mental illnesses like this get enough shit. I hate that this is coming out of my mouth. I think I just hate that this is coming out of my mouth, really. Like, you all understand this is a Kiwi Farms user. But I hate that it's coming out of my mouth. Okay, so we kept him around as a Chris Chan-like lolcow. None of us knew that Sean never consented, since it seemed so impossible that Sean didn't figure out that Grant's been distributing in the first place. Another said, from what I recall from my time on the server, all of the videos were solo stuff from Sean. However, in those videos, Sean is talking dirty to Grant. Grant would also post videos of him and Sean together doing non-sexual stuff. There's no way they weren't fucking though. Former Discord members also report that some of the audio from the videos of Sean were used in Ram Ranch songs.
Noah G23, he's wondering where do you get all the moaning sounds for the background of your music?
Hey, listen, I'm just pretty fortunate that I got some pretty promiscuous buddies.
Prior to all of this blowing up, Grant and Sean had seemed to be pretty on the same page about things. There's pictures of Sean wearing Ram Ranch merch. There's one of him standing in Grant's kitchen where there's like a big Sean Ram Ranch poster right behind him. So like he was well aware of Ram Ranch and even the fact that Grant had written him into the songs. But obviously Grant really crossed a line when he started posting those private videos and using the audio in songs. After this happened, Grant released the songs Fighting for My Dignity, Psycho Sean, and Prick Sean.
Yo, Sean, my heart is broken in two, missing you, knowing what is happening between us now. Fucking Twilight Zone, court sessions and a trial, fighting and fighting and fighting because of what you're doing. Fuck, dude, what the fuck are you up to? You want every cent of my fucking money? I gave you my fucking $110,000 fucking Corvette.
These songs are interesting because they confirm that the relationship between Grant and Sean had a financial element to it as well. Grant gave Sean a $110,000 Corvette. He had been financing his travels, like treating him like a sugar baby almost. These are things that he bragged about on his Discord as well. And Grant denies that he and Sean ever had sex, that it was just a fantasy that was part of the Ram Ranch lore for him, that he only ever received the explicit videos. It's unclear if money was ever exchanged directly for those videos, or if Grant showering Sean in money was just kind of happening adjacent to that. Then Discord members began donating to Grant's GoFundMe under the name Sean, and every time Grant would write in like the custom thank you box for the GoFundMes, he would write back messages seemingly intended for Sean. I have nothing, Sean. Reverse mortgage on condo for $415,000. Can barely make payment on car. If I am rearrested again and thrown into jail like an animal, the Corvette gets repossessed. I guess it is futile trying to resolve this with dignity. Repossession is inevitable. Your lawyer can structure an affidavit after Jan 25th to have the charges dropped. Please, Sean, I beg you. This is elder abuse and extortion. I love you. Grant made his final Reddit post on January 20th, which also seems to be a message for Sean. So I assume that Sean at this point must have blocked Grant from contacting him in any regular way if Grant was doing this. On January 21st, the Discord server received the following messages. Stalin, they are getting a warrant. Surrender, Grant. You need to do this above board. Emergency. We will help you, Grant. Thanks. Cops en route. Toronto. You can count on us. Outside door. I am being arrested. Is everything alright? Stay safe. Help me. Getting arrested again. Getting warrant. Toronto. And that was it. Grant McDonald disappeared. Was it justice? Was it elder abuse and extortion? No one knew. Now, Ontario court dates are free to look up, and anyone can look up a court date in Ontario if they have the name of the person. And Reddit users did just that. So they knew that there was an ongoing case against Grant and that he was likely being held in jail or legally restricted from using the internet during the duration of this case. And that was when the true speculation began. There was speculation that their relationship must have been going on since Sean was young, that he had been groomed. This obviously very quickly devolved into homophobic talking points about how all gay people are predators, and I shit you not, gay people can't reproduce, so they reproduce by converting our children. Someone starts talking about the Bible, like, sir, you're on Kiwi Farms. Do you think that God's light can reach you on Kiwi Farms? Because I don't. Others speculated that Grant's mental health had gone on a massive downward spiral after the death of his partner in 2016, that it was after this that he had developed this fixation on Sean. So While unethical, it was more the product of untreated mental illness in a lonely old man than anything else. But Grant seems to disprove this theory himself while defending himself in some of those GoFundMe thank you notes that he wrote. He says Sean had graduated university, Sean was over 21, things like that. So timeline-wise, that would have been longer ago than 2016. I have not seen any sympathy ever expressed for Sean. These people don't really feel bad for him. They say, well, obviously he knew about Ram Ranch. Obviously he sent those videos consensually. He might have even been paid for those videos. But here's the crazy thing, is you can consent to sending someone a video and not consent to it being posted on the internet. And even if you're a middle-aged adult, an older, richer family member taking sexual interest in you is a weird situation with a lot of power dynamics. And even if it takes a long time of being close with this person to eventually stand up to them, it's still worth doing. I do think that Sean is a victim here. I don't know to what extent, but I hope that he is doing better now and that cutting Grant off was the right thing for him. Another factor that of course makes this situation incredibly sticky is Grant's own mental health. People following the story have frequently diagnosed him through the computer, usually with dementia or schizophrenia due to the disordered and kind of repetitive nature of his speech. Is it really untreated mental illness? Is he just kind of odd, has a bit of a strange sense of humor, he types weird, he's old? I don't know. I don't know. And that's why even though Grant's contact information is accessible, I decided not to interview him for this video. Because if I know what kind of a state someone is in mental health-wise, you know, I can kind of suss out ethically how to approach or not to approach the situation, but I don't know. And because I don't know him as a person, even if I spoke to him, I probably wouldn't fully know like how he was doing mentally. And I don't want to cross a line into exploiting or upsetting someone who I don't know if he's in a place to handle this. I just wanted to get to the bottom of a mystery about the shadowy creator of this crazy avant-garde spoken word cowboy erotica, and it got way, way darker than I expected. So here I am, still talking to myself with shit all over my walls. Grant got out of jail in early August and announced his release in the logical way anyone would by leaving a comment on one of his own YouTube videos. He then immediately started making Ram Ranch songs again, as well as the song Innocent. Using the court case lookup tool on the Ontario government's website, I was able to tell that his sentencing date was August 8th, and now he's free, so we can assume that that sentence did not involve prison time. Now, I as a member of the public am also able to request information about a court case. So using the information that I had from the court case lookup tool, I sent an email. I said, hello, is there any documents that are available to me as a member of the public that would tell me the decision that was made in this case? And they said, yes, here is a stack of documents. It is illegal to speak of them. There is a publication ban on these documents, which is pretty common in cases of a sexual nature to protect the privacy of the victim. So I have the knowledge, and I can't tell you shit. And I am not experienced at the law, so I'm treading very carefully here. The large majority of this script was written before I ever obtained those documents, and everything in this video is based purely on the internet's speculation. I now know Grant McDonald's exact birth date and age, and I'm not even going to tell you that because my only source is these court documents. And I kind of think that's an important idea to end on. Whether you think that Grant McDonald is a full-blown predator, or you think that the case against him is slander and elder abuse, leave everyone involved alone. Just leave everyone involved alone. Do not attempt to contact anyone involved in this situation. If you do, you're an asshole and also pathetic. Can't you just, like, teach yourself a cheap and healthy hearty lentil soup recipe instead? Hug your pets, eat some of those little baby-sized Halloween chocolate bars, reread your favorite book, okay? There are many joys in this life that do not involve harassing people on the internet. I just wanted to know what was up with Ram Ranch. And I pursued that knowledge so far that I am legally not allowed to tell you anything I found out from this point onwards. Which I think is a first. Definitely a first for one of my videos. So, you know, that's exciting. Thank you so much, my friends, for coming along on this journey with me, for making it all the way to the end of this odyssey. And I will see you in another video very soon.